Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about the new character in the second HP scaling unit we've gotten, Queen Belsey. She's a front row fire knight and she's back with both personal damage and team support, so there's a lot to cover. So let's start with her ultimate. It has a 33 seconds cooldown. At level 3, it deals damage equal to 180% of her own HP to all enemies and stun them for 4 seconds. But that's not all. Every time those enemies takes a hit, your entire team will deal 14% extra damage to them for 20 seconds. Her active skill is just as impressive. It deals 70% of her own HP as damage, stuns all those enemies for 1.5 seconds, and applies an 18% damage reduction for 10 seconds. And it comes with 10 seconds cooldown, which is a 100% uptime defense reduction, and that can be super good for her and her teammates. So to put it in perspective, I did a quick test where I replaced a fully buffed Tia in an MLB Galahad team versus a T0 Belsey. Now, the game's damage formula works something like this. The final damage equals to your overall attack multiplied by 1 minus the enemy's defense ratio. And the defense ratio is calculated as the enemy's defense divided by your attack plus their defense. And to make it easy, we'll skip all the other multipliers, crit values, and so on. For example, imagine you deal 1200 raw damage against, for example, an enemy with 800 defense. The defense ratio would be 800 divided by 2000, which is 800 plus the 1200, which gives you 0.4. That means you deal 40% less damage, or they block basically 40% of your incoming damage. So you will deal technically 720 damage instead of that 1200. In the game, we're talking about millions of DPS, so losing a 40% of your output can be super huge loss. That's why defense reduction is so valuable, sometimes even more than stacking crit on attack. Just keep in mind, there's a 50% cap on stacking defense reduction, so you can't go beyond that. And for our case, for example, if we decide to go all in and apply that 50% defense reduction, the defense ratio will become 400, which means the enemies will mitigate 25% of your damage, and you will deal 900 damage at the end. So just from this example alone, this jump will give you 25% damage increase. So stacking defense reduction is so powerful, and especially against tanky enemies. The closer you get to reducing the enemy's defense to 0, which is impossible, the more valuable each percent of the reduction becomes. So in my quick bias test against a neutral boss, the Galahad team actually performed just slightly better. I think it was like 2% compared to switching off her with Belsey. So Belsey basically provides a substantial personal damage, but it lowers Tia's output since she loses the magic attack basically. On the other hand, Luwen benefits from the defense reduction and additional damage she gives, and essentially it's basically a trade-off. You're either deciding between a team support from Galahad and the damage immunity and so on versus tankiness and defense reduction from Belsey. And she also makes up with the DPS loss of your main carries. In our example, it was Tia with her personal damage. Again, this is just a quick test and a quick comparison, so I can do more detailed breakdowns later on once I get exact enemies defense numbers and play with the all defense reduction values. But not today though. Okay, now let's talk about Belsey's passive, which makes her even stronger and easy to build. Her first passive boosts her HP by 56% and gives her a 9% damage reduction, making her incredibly tanky and deals a big chunk of damage. Her second passive increases her HP and crit chance per stack whenever she gets hit. At level 3, she gains 2.5% HP per stack up to 25 stacks, giving her a free 62% HP increase, which she can easily get if you put her at the front, and that means you will hit over 2 million HP without even trying. On top of that, she gets an extra 12% crit chance at max stacks. Alright, now let's move on to her resonance card because it's really good, but it's also not a must pull if you're just aiming for pure damage. So her signature card gives her a 60 HP increase, 24% more healing received, and also gives her teammates a 6% damage reduction. Basically, it makes her super tanky, way easier to play, and increases the whole team's survivability. So in terms of comfort, it's perfect for her. But if you're chasing damage instead of tankiness, there are actually better alternatives. For example, Lua's card is hands down the best option if you want more DPS. It's about 10 to 12% stronger than her signature card, mainly because it resets her active skill and lets her deal extra damage with the additional damage and the crit damage boost it gives. Lance card is another solid choice, around 5% better than her signature because of the crit damage boost she gets from it, which scales really well with her kit. Now if you don't want to go for her signature at all, Eren's card is also a great alternative. In general, HP scaling characters in Belsey love hybrid stats. Like for example what Eren and Lance card both offer. They usually outperform pure HP only cards when it comes to raw DPS. Pridewind card is another good one. It gives the same HP percentage boost as her signature, but it also buffs the team defense and increases your overall survivability. Just make sure to avoid pure attack cards because they really fall off on her. Because most of her damage scales from HP, not attack, so those cards aren't worth it if you're only looking to boost her personal DPS. So yeah, if you're thinking about skipping her signature to save for her dupes, it's totally fine. You can see she gets plenty of strong alternatives that even outperform her own in some cases, as you see. Now for her dupes. If you're wondering how much power she actually gains with Transcendence, here's what I found using a 75 seconds rotation with full stacks in her signature card. The jump from T1 to T3 Transcendence level gives the biggest damage increase. And if you push her all the way to T5, Belsey ends up dealing almost 2.6 times the damage per rotation compared to T0, and depending on your team, that gap gets even bigger if you're using DPS oriented resonance cards and pits and more characters buffs. So overall, her card is great for survivability, but if you're going for big damage, there's definitely better ones out there. Now let's talk about her pet. At T5s, it gives you 60% HP, 10% damage reduction, and 5% additional damage, plus 5% ignore damage reduction, which is literally the same stats you get from Joan of Arc pet. And if you decide to use it as your main pet, it deals damage equal to 15% of your HP to all enemies and stun them for 2 seconds with 5 seconds cooldown. So yeah, it's a really solid pet, both offensively and defensively if you need to. But here's the thing, in most cases, you probably want to run something like Lowen or Phoenix as your main pet instead, paired with 2 HP base pet like Lance, Joan of Arc, or K, depending on what you have. So honestly, you don't have to go all in her pet unless you're specifically building around her or Lance, since it's a bit more of a niche option. It really shines in teams or situations where you need to survive longer, but if you already have strong HP pets or you're not using these 2 units, you can safely skip maxing it and focus on her dupes instead. Alright, now let's talk about builds. And here's the good news, she is super easy to gear. All she really needs is HP percentage and crit damage. For weapons, go with Arendite for that 20% crit chance and 30% crit damage, and pair it with the Mirror Shield to get that extra 25% HP boost. Then for the treasure, Tempest is the way to go since it gives her 10% crit chance, more healing received, and more damage reduction. For runes, Thunderheart is the best. You can be picking here, just make sure to get as many HP percentage and crit damage percentage rune you can get as possible. You can also use Goddess rune if you don't have any. And for specialties, you only need HP percentage and crit damage. You can go for example with HP crit damage, or full HP, or double crit damage with HP. Now let's talk about our team comps, and I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I wasn't even planning to pull her at first. I was salty we got her before my real queen Elizabeth, so I was actually ready to skip her on my F2P account. But damn, after trying her out, I hate to admit it, she's actually really good and fun to play. If you watch my streams, you know I have what I call brain dead auto team, basically my go-to team when I just want to chill and run a team without thinking and brute force almost everything. Usually in that team is Lance, Galahad, Eren, or either Dion or Gwen if I need more healing. and Tia for the majority of the team's damage. But now Belsey has earned her spot. I've seen her do more damage than my Lance, and I just loved her stun ability. He's just so good against those annoying bosses. So actually running both Belsey and Lance together just feels so comfortable, especially for those tower stages and story farming. So yeah, Lance is hands down her best teammate. Most Lance mains already running HP pits, and since Belsey scales of HP too, they naturally benefit from each other's setups. You can also add Dian for more healing, shields, crit damage buffs, and melee attack increases. And of course, if you decide to go with that, you already know my Queen Lowen belongs there too. This combo is honestly my favorite team right now, and the last slot is flexible depending on what you actually need. You can throw in Eren, Betty for CC immunity, crit buffs, and Root, or even Tia if you want to go all in with the 4 DPS setup. And if you prefer something safer, you can always run a healer like Gwen or Isolde. Now, if you want to maximize both Belsey's and Lance's damage, try running Joan of Arc. I absolutely love this team in tower stages. Joan cleanses debuffs, blocks and stops those annoying bosses with the stacking abilities from using their basic attacks, and also gives your team a 10% extra damage boost, plus a massive 52% HP increase. And at level 5 she gives your front row units a shield, and if you add healing on top of that, you basically never die. Another underrated pick is Christina. She deals damage, applies burn, and gives your teams a 52% attack, plus Belsey gets an extra 24% damage when she hits an enemy affected by burn, which makes them a strong duo. And for my PvP enjoyers, a great setup is Belsey, Lance, Claire, and Betty with a flex slot. So should you pull for Belsey? Honestly, I would say yes, especially if you need a solid team for story progression or you want to easily clear tower stages. I really like her, and honestly I actually find her more fun to play than Lance. She fits in multiple team comps, work great for boss fights, and she just feels so satisfying to use. So if you skipped Lance or you don't have her yet, I would say Belsey is kind of a must-have for you, and especially if you're a Lance main. Or maybe you just want to chill and then you want an auto team that can clear almost any content. And come on, look at those milkers, you need her in your teams. Now, I know a lot of you guys are saving for the collab characters, which is totally makes sense, but if you can, try to at least grab one copy of her and go for T3 if you have the resources, since that's a really strong power jump and a super good stopping point. And if you want to be extra safe, maybe wait until the last day of her banner and to see if we get any crumbs about the upcoming characters and then decide. But if you're missing Lance, you honestly have no choice. You might need to get her to be able to push the story content easily. As for her resonance card, you can skip it if you already have better alternatives. She works great with Lua or Lance card. You can even run Pridewind if you only want to run her as a tank, and she can even run the 4-star MC card as a budget option. And as for her pit, you can skip it if you want to. You will get plenty of HP pits over time without even summoning on that banner, and it's better to go for her dupes instead. That's it for today's video. I'm finally going to get some sleep now. I'm really sorry if I sound very tired because the tests took way too long. I hope this video helped you, and good luck on your summons, but only if you like and subscribe first. Thanks for watching guys, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.